You are now listening to the Living Numbers and Tony Rambles. Tony Rambles. Tony Rambles. Rambles. And the Living Numbers Podcast.
This is the Living Numbers Podcast, and I am your host, Tony Rambles. The podcast where regular people are interesting. You just have to ask the right questions. But today, we are here for a short episode, I would say, for the NBA play-in we'll just go play-in preview. Maybe I'll go and upload something else from the playoffs once we get our play-in situated. We'll go playoffs, and then we'll look at matchups, and we'll go from there. But today, we're definitely going to look at the play-in since I'm recording this on Monday, and the teams play tomorrow. So I wanted to do this as a live stream on YouTube, but apparently I don't have enough followers. So we need to fix that. So by the next time I do a video, we have to have at least 50 followers. Hey, every milestone is a milestone. We don't make light of any of them. So let's get to 50. Let's get to 50 subscribers. Go in on and comment on the last video. Just put in the number 50. Wait, I hope I got that right. This way? You know what? It doesn't matter. You know what I'm trying to say. Put in the number 50 on the last video. And let's get that subscriber count up so I can live stream my playoff preview. Now, with that being said, make sure you guys, of course, like, subscribe, download, okay, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Just make sure you guys subscribe and what is that? Download, follow, rate and review. Let's go. Subscribe and follow. Let's go there. That's what we're trying to do. I was checking out the play-in. Now, you guys know I'm a huge NBA fan. We're going to jump right into it. We have Cleveland and Brooklyn. Now, that's tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So that's going to be 6 o'clock my time. And I think if we had Cleveland at full strength, they'd have a chance simply because of how really good they are defensively and all of the length that they have. I really like what Cleveland did this year. They went big. They put Markkanen at forward, at the small forward, and then they got Mobley, and then they got Allen, and then they got those two really, really shifty guards. Unfortunately, Colin Sexton's been out all year, pretty much, and Darius Garland, I mean, he's doing this thing on his own, right? He's boogieing, and they have Isaac Okoro. They have Karis LeVert. They got Kevin Love, who can do some work. Like, he can shoot it outside. He could score inside. And, I mean, Rondo hasn't played much at all, but he's got some playoff experience. He's really good in the playoffs. They got Chetty, who's a big wing, who I'm sure will have to guard Kevin Durant an awful lot, along with Lamar Stevens. In the 4 matchups this year, the Nets won 118-107. That was on April 8th. On January 17th, the Cavaliers won 114-107. I think at that point, Kevin Durant was still out. On November 22nd, the Nets won 117-112. That was early in the season. The Nets were 13-5 and the Cavs were 9-9, which was still honestly pretty good at that point. And then they played on November 17th, and the score was 109-99 Nets. I'm pretty sure that most people are picking the Nets here. I just really like what I've seen from this Cleveland team. Everybody has. I mean, they went big. They play scrappy. They have a guard in Darius Garland who's really, really good. He's probably going to make like another leap next year, hopefully, possibly. But there's no discounting how good they are, but they don't have all their guys. And the Nets appear to have figured some things out and they're on a mission, and they got arguably the best player in the league in Kevin Durant. So let's move on to Clippers, Minnesota. Now, I like Minnesota in this matchup for the first one. And I really think that Cat has come on, and obviously I think he should be an all NBA player. He's really started to scratch that ceiling that everybody's been talking about. I mean, he's been good, but he hasn't been good enough to really get his team to the playoffs. So now is the time. They've got to beat the Clippers, especially with them. They don't have Kawhi Leonard, right? This is everybody's time to still kind of get the Clippers, because once Kawhi Leonard comes back, they're going to be pretty tough. If Kawhi Leonard is still Kawhi Leonard, they're going to be hard to beat with him and Paul George. They're just too good. You got the big wings who can pretty much go get a bucket and get a stop at dang near any time against anybody. They're going to be pretty tough. But right now, Kawhi Leonard is not there. They have Paul George, who is really good, but he's not a one. Okay, so I want Minnesota to win that because I want to see the 7-2 matchup with Minnesota and Memphis. I really want to see that matchup. I like how they match up against each other, where you got Ja Morant against, Ant-Man will probably have to guard him. D'Lo, Pat Bev. Okay, they'll probably put some of their bigger guys on him as well. I mean, Vanderbilt may have to guard him a little bit. But I like that matchup. I want to see Trey J, Jaren Jackson Jr. against Karl Anthony Towns. I want to see that matchup. Remember, last time Cat was in the playoffs, it was ugly against Houston. He didn't look good. He kind of melted down, and, here we are again. And they're back in the playoffs for the second time in Cat's career with Minnesota. So I want to see that Minnesota against Memphis. So I want Minnesota to win this first game. But I want to see the Clippers against Phoenix. I do not want to see the Pelicans or the Spurs in the playoffs. Just no. There's a reason. They both have, 36 for New Orleans and 34 wins for Spurs. No, nobody wants to see that. There's a reason why the Clippers are 42-40 in the 8th seed, and Minnesota is 46-36 at the 7th seed. Nobody wants to see those other two teams. But these guys got to take care of business. So I hope the Clippers play Phoenix, because I want to see that scrappy Clippers team play against Phoenix, who I feel like has no holes. The team has no holes. They're solid all around. And then they have Devin Booker, who is, I don't think he's a superstar. He's not a top 15 player in the league every year. I don't think he's that player. I don't think he's not Giannis. He's not Jokic. He's not Embiid. He's not KD. He's not LeBron. He's not those guys. But he's in that next tier down. Okay, you got Booker, you got Mitchell, you got Tatum, you got those guys. I would put Ja in that category right now, because obviously that team's doing really, really good, but that team is also really, really good. So I think he's in the next tier down, but that tier is a great tier too. He's top 20 in the league. He might be in that 13 to 17 range, maybe even a little higher. But the top guys, Kawhi, those guys, is 7 of those. So he's in that tier after. So that's 8 to 15. That's not bad. That's really good. I want to see Paul George show up against that Phoenix team and say, I'm still a force to be reckoned with. I want to see that Clippers team show up and just be scrappy with Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris. I think that will be a good test for Phoenix, as far as a team that is not going to lay down. I don't trust Minnesota against them. Not really. I don't trust San Antonio or the Pelicans against them. I think Phoenix will walk those teams. But the Clippers, they just fight and claw against everybody. So I'd like to see them against Phoenix. That is our Western Conference. Now, I'm not going to go into a whole preview right now, just talking playing games. So I'm going to move over to the East, where you have some really fun young teams in Cleveland who's just not healthy. If we had the real Cleveland team, I like their chances against Brooklyn simply because of their length. And then they have like two guards that can really go get buckets on anybody. I think Colin Sexton dropped 50 on Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken. You have Charlotte, who I love. Everybody loves Charlotte. Everybody does. I mean, they don't play any defense. However, they have LaMelo Ball. That team runs. They're fun. They share the ball. And they can get buckets. They can get buckets and they're entertaining. And then you have Atlanta, who came into this year with a level of expectation. So Atlanta has something to prove to go, yeah, we're the 9th seed, but we have experience. We are really good. We have a guy who we think is a superstar in Trae Young, who really performed last year in the playoffs. There's no doubting that. I gave it up to him. I gave him his props. I still don't want to build around a guy that's maybe 6 foot and 160 pounds ish. He's very small. And this Charlotte team, I believe they have the ability to hunt him with guys that will go after him with force. Like LaMelo is not going to take it easy on Trae Young. He's not. Terry Rozier, he's going at Trae Young. Bridges, he's going at Trae Young. He's got a little bit off the bounce nowadays. So I like Charlotte there. That may be an upset, but they're both 43 and 39. They've been up and down, but I think because of Atlanta's trajectory coming off last year's playoff push, you go, well, Atlanta should be better than this. Charlotte is kind of right where everybody expected them to be. A frisky playoff team that we were just kind of hoping would be in the mix and in the play-in, and they are. So I like Charlotte actually to pull that game out. Now, some people may go, well, that team's still really young. They're not really ready. LaMelo is not that kind of player yet. He's not there yet, even though everybody believes he has the tools. I love LaMelo. I talked about him, I think, on my first episode. I think it was my first episode. I talked about LaMelo Ball and how his teammates love to play with him, and that is going to continue to carry over. So I'd like to see Charlotte beat Atlanta to get into that 9-10 portion because they have to win 2 games. Now, of course, Brooklyn's going to beat Cleveland. So we would have Brooklyn against Charlotte. No. We'd have Cleveland against Charlotte. And wow, that is a tough one because I really like LaMelo. I really like Darius Garland. He really reminds me of Kyrie Irving, where his style is so herky-jerky. He can kind of get to any spot. He has a lot of different finishes, a lot of different shots, a lot of different crossovers and moves to get open. Now, again, he's also a small point guard. Now, neither one of them is as small as Trae Young, but they're on the smaller side. So defensively is always going to be an issue for them. It's always going to be a little bit tough. You got to kind of dig deep and get, kind of gritty in there. Like Patrick Beverley is not the biggest guy, but he figures out a way to make it difficult. So easy to say that when Patrick Beverley doesn't have the scoring load that Darius Garland does or Trae Young, but I digress. You kind of got to figure it out. I like, Cleveland, Charlotte. I'm going to take Cleveland because defensively, I think they'll be able to get enough stops with Mobley, and we'll see what Allen looks like if he's able to go. And they got a guy like Okoro that can put on LaMelo and make it difficult. I think Cleveland may be a little bit more ready to make that step simply because they have Garland and they have Evan Mobley, who's been just a menace on defense. And for a young team like Charlotte, I think he is going to make a huge impact. as opposed to going against a team like Brooklyn, who has Kevin Durant, who has Kyrie, who's a little bit more savvy, who has more playoff experience. I don't think Evan is going to be able to bother them as much as they'll be able to bother a younger, less talented team like the Charlotte Hornets. So I've got Brooklyn coming in at the 7th seed against Boston. That is going to be an amazing series. That's going to be great. Although it would be really fun to see them at the top of the bracket, to have to go through Miami, which that's going to be tough. They have Tucker, Bam, Jimmy, Kyle Lowry. That is a horrific defense to have to go through, honestly. But if they made it through Miami, then they would have to probably face Philly. That's what everybody kind of wants to see, because I do not trust James Harden at all. Shout out to my cousin Derek. He loves James Harden. I wonder what he thinks of him now. But with it playing out like this, we'd see Brooklyn against Boston. You have the Wings in Boston that are going to make it, they're going to make it difficult on everybody. You got Tatum, you got Brown, you got Marcus Smart, who's getting a lot of defensive MVP conversation. We'll see what happens with that. But you got the big wings. You got a guy like Derek White. You got Horford. They are number one in defense. They're going to defend like crazy. I'm not going to make a prediction as much as I would like to right now. And I'd have Cleveland going against Miami. Yeah. Safe to say, whoever gets out of there, whether it's Cleveland, Charlotte, or Atlanta, they're going to get mopped by Miami. Is that a prediction? I don't think so. That's easy money, right? I don't think anybody's choosing any of these teams over Miami unless you want to throw Brooklyn in there. Because Kevin Durant is amazing. Very hard to stop. So that's going to be my play-in preview. Those are my picks. Hopefully I could get this video uploaded in time. It's going to be on YouTube, but I'm also going to upload this to Spotify, Apple. Y'all know how I do it. This is the Living Numbers podcast, where regular people are interesting. Just have to ask the right questions. Obviously, I'm going solo, but I think that's my tag. I like that tag. I think that's all. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. Hey, let's get my YouTube subscriber count to 50 so I can live stream the NBA playoff preview before the games start later on this week. Make sure you guys follow if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple. Make sure you guys subscribe and follow. That's what we're doing. Subscribe and follow. This is your host, Tony Rambles, and I will see you all in the next round.